Folks. You have done it. You've written your body paragraphs. You went back last week, finalized those, and wrote your introduction. And so now it is time for your conclusion. So I'm excited to go ahead and work on that with you. A super quick note on conclusions. Pay attention to that word, conclusion, not summary. One of the big traps that a lot of people fall into with their conclusions is that they turn them into summaries. You do not need to summarize the book. You do not need to summarize your essay. We just read the entire thing, right? This is the final thing that your reader is going to read, but all that stuff is fresh. So your job here is to actually pretty much say, here is what I've concluded after all of my hard work. You started this essay with a question that you developed. Why did Harper Lee develop Boo Radley the way that she did? Why did Harper Lee have a particular theme running through, and like, how did she develop that? This is where you get to kind of say, hey, after all of my hard work, this is what I came up with. Here it is. So don't feel like you need to summarize. You don't need to get all of your points back in. That's not the goal. It's your chance to highlight what you've concluded after all of your hard work. So I want to talk about one way to do that. And note that your conclusion doesn't necessarily have to be long. I think that there's something kind of nice actually about a nice, concise conclusion. But we still want to make sure that we are kind of reestablishing that claim, and we're really driving home that after all our hard work, we have reached some conclusions. Here they are. Now, this should look familiar. When we talked about our introduction, we talked about an upside down triangle model, right? Start broad, narrow in by talking about Mockingbird, and then literally and symbolically getting to the point. Your conclusion, we're just taking that triangle and flipping it right on its head, right? So if we started broad and then we narrowed in, well, now we've been working on To Kill a Mockingbird for the last few paragraphs. So instead of all of a sudden going broad again, stay specific, right? You're talking Mockingbird, stay talking Mockingbird. And then we're going to go ahead and kind of slowly broaden back out. We're not necessarily going to go huge like we did for a ginormous hook, because we've already hooked the reader, they've been involved, but it's still our chance to kind of reestablish that thesis, work our way back out, and then kind of remind them of, so here's what we've ultimately ended up concluding. So I want to give you an example of what that looks like for my Anti-Alexander paper that I've been writing with you. So here's my claim. Harper Lee created the character of Anti-Alexandra to demonstrate how traditional Southern values clashed with a more progressive vision. All right, so I want to start specific again and then broaden out. I don't want to copy and paste. Let's not take the easy way out. But at its core, I still want to capture this idea of Southern values clashing, right? That was my key word for my introduction that I brought up to the top, was that idea of kind of clashing ideals. So I want to go ahead and certainly be thinking about that, as well as Anti-Alexandra, Harper Lee, 'cause we're staying specific. So I'm not going to copy and paste, but maybe something like, ultimately, so that's kind of like my core idea here, right? So maybe I'll just kind of start there. And then I want to go ahead and start kind of broadening out here. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of talk a little bit more about her, Atticus. So maybe even her clashing with Atticus matches the clashing going on in Macomb, Alabama. While some are holding on to their heritage, So nothing huge here, but I reestablished my claim. I'm kind of leading back out by capturing some of those big key ideas in the key characters that I analyzed in my particular essay, most of which were Atticus and Aunt Alexandra. Even if I talk about the kids, really Atticus is going to be kind of at the core of that too. So now's that clincher, right? That broadening out. Again, I don't necessarily want to go too broad because I've been using the last 3.5 paragraphs all on Mockingbird, if not more. So I don't necessarily want to run away from Mockingbird here and go super broad and talk about that, but I just kind of want to capture that broad idea again of the clashing values, and why maybe Harper Lee did that. Because now that I'm looking at what I haven't talked about Harper Lee, and ultimately my conclusion is that Harper Lee did this intentionally. So maybe that's where I'll end, is by putting this back on the author, which really was our ultimate goal with this, right? So what have I concluded after all of this hard work? I've concluded that by creating character Aunt Alexandra provides the reader with an opportunity to ultimately, I think that's kind of what I concluded, is like she's representing one particular type of thinking, and I think that's totally fine to go ahead and end that here. I could maybe develop this a little bit further if I really wanted to, but I like the idea of having a concise little conclusion here, with the idea of here's what she came to represent, here's some moments where we saw it between her and Atticus. I didn't summarize, right? But I kind of reminded the reader that that's the dynamic I'm paying attention to, but I'm ending with the idea of what Harper Lee was trying to do. That's what I set out to answer with my particular essay, and it's what I want to kind of capture here in this particular conclusion. So again, my claim, I didn't necessarily take word for word, but at its core, I think this conclusion really captures this particular claim. So that would disappear. There's my conclusion. Nice, concise, captures what my focus point is. And then you get a chance to go back, reread that essay, and continue your editing. So I'm excited to see what you come up with. Excited to see the full essay. And please let me know if I can be of help. Hope to see you during office hours to go ahead and help finalize this together. Take care.